Welcome to the next episode of Vision Alignment, where we have a huge guest coming on today. Oh my gosh. I can't tell you how excited I am to have this guest with us. But before we go there, we all have to be reminded that we all have blindness in our lives. If we can understand our blindness, we can get away from those blinders, then we can understand how important it is that our core values, our core mission, the strengths need to be in alignment with our vision. If we have our core strengths in alignment with our vision, we're going to be so much better off. We're going to be so much happier. We're going to be so much more successful. So that's why it's so important to understand that. But I want you to just sit back, relax, enjoy this talk we're going to have with our guest speaker. But I also want to encourage you to understand that stick around to the end of the show, because at the end of the show, we are going to talk about who's going to be on next. And the next speakers are amazing as well. So if you would, just stick around for that. And also, I'll also want to encourage you to share this video out with as many people as you can. Share it out with your community, whether you're on Facebook or LinkedIn, and also put in a picture of you winking. And with you winking, I want you to understand how you're unique. We're all unique, and we're all awesome in our own certain way. So if you can do that, just put in that picture and put in a hashtag of Brian with one eye, or a hashtag of winking with Wagner, or winking without Wagner, whatever you want to do. But if you would do that, I would appreciate it. So without any further ado, and by the way, tag me on your picture. And without any further ado, I want to bring on our guest speaker for the day, and that is none other than Ross Bernstein. Hey.
Hi, Brian.
How are you, Ross?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for coming on today. This is phenomenal. So as soon as I come off screen, the audience is going to see what all we have behind you, and the different sports memorabilia that you have is incredible. So I'm very, very envious. But if you would, please tell us your story.
Well, professional speaker, and my background is in sports, as you can see from my worldwide headquarters, or as my mother likes to say, my basement, which is sort of our world these days. As speakers, we are not traveling a whole lot. We're grounded to our home studios, but I've written about 50 sports books. That's my passion. I've been a working member of the media for the past 25 years here in Minnesota, where I live, working closely with the Vikings and Twins and Wild and Wolves and Gophers. So that's been my passion is kind of studying teams and figuring out what it is that makes the great ones great. And then I write books about it, and that kind of got me a seat at the table, being an expert, I guess, in the world of sports and figuring out why teams win, and transitioning to a professional speaker. So now I keynote about 100 to 120 conferences a year globally. And I talk about how sports relates to business and leadership and customer experience and change management. So it's a fun, crazy life, but I love it. I've got a wife and an 18-year-old daughter, and we are up in Minnesota where it's freezing cold, and I'm looking out at the lake and it's frozen solid. So I'll be out playing some hockey today, which is good. So that's what it's all about. Just getting geared up for the holidays.
Wow. Oh, that's awesome. So yeah, Minnesota, I love the country up there. It's beautiful during the summer months.
Yes. Absolutely. Come in the summer, it's a little brisk in February, but that's okay. We like it.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's good. So tell me a little bit about your speaking career. Yeah, I know you talk a lot about the code, and the code is something that we all kind of understand. I think anybody that's really just lightly into sports, like when the pitcher, plunks one of your batters, that means the next pitcher, the next batter that gets up for the other team, they're gonna get plunked as well, right? Things like that. what are some of the other things that we don't always think about that are out there? And then I want you to give your whole speech, but help us to understand how you relate that to business.
Sure. So the Champions, my program is called the Champions Code, and it's based on these 2 series of books I've written. One of them is about why teams win. So I wrote this series of books. You can kind of see these like Raising Stanley, Raising Lombardi, and this is about what it took to hoist that trophy. So I interviewed like 1,000 professional athletes and coaches who were all members of championship teams. I could only ask them why. I was looking for the trends and metrics and patterns that were common among the 85 Bears or the 91 Twins or whatever that might be. It was really interesting. And then the Champions Code is what you alluded to, is another series of books I wrote called, let me get my camera right here.
I'll go off screen. So you can
so that's what you talked about why guys get drilled, or about fighting in hockey. And there's a whole series of these, and it's about the unwritten, unspoken rules in sports. And it's not about, why a guy gets drilled in baseball or why there's fighting. It's about this living, breathing honor code. And if the players break it, about how they have to be held accountable. So in hockey, players aren't allowed to wear face masks as professionals because they don't want you to be able to hide behind it. So if you cheap shot a guy, if you hit a guy from behind, if you take liberties with a smaller player, if you disrespect someone, if you play like a jerk, the golden rule says you're going to be treated like a jerk and you're going to lose some teeth. We call that spitting chiclets in my business. And, in baseball, it's the same thing. If you pimp a home run, if you steal signs, there's all sorts of sneaky, nefarious things that athletes will try and do to gain an edge. There's a fine line between cheating and gamesmanship in sports and in business. And I translated that to business. So, we all think about what our codes are, about these, things that we've always just done business that way. And you see it, whether it's Enron or Lehman Brothers or, big businesses that lose their moral compass. And especially when times are tough, like now, people take shortcuts, and you see it in sports, whether it's Lance Armstrong or teams or players that get caught cheating, and what results. So the Champions Code, my program, it's about winning with integrity, about winning the right way in life, and leading people the right way, and delivering customer service the right way, and just being a good human being. That's what it's all about, Brian. You're a good human. That's what you know.
Well, that's awesome. So our friend Ted Legal wants to know where you can get the books.
Well, I'm not here shilling books. I mean, they're out on the interwebs, so you can go out and find them if you want. But they're fun, and it's fun giving birth to them. But for me, that was a shift. I talk a lot about change, and just like you and I, Brian, are in our basements giving speeches these days. The first shift for me came, the first recession, when I could see that bookstores were dying. That was my job. I wrote books. Most people in our group, the National Speakers Association, write books as a vanity play. It's hey, I wrote a book, I'm an expert. But for me, my first career was, if I didn't write a book, I didn't eat. So I would write 2-3 books a year and sell them, and do book signings and do TV and radio interviews. But I could see, Borders was gone, Walden Books was gone, B. Dalton's was gone, Barnes and Noble was selling more board games, tchotchkes, greeting cards, and caramel macchiatos than they were books. So the book business, writing, became a shift where I shifted to become a professional speaker. And, then, books became movies. This book got turned into a movie with an Academy Award-winning director.
Really?
And another book I did about captains, that book became a speech. So everything kind of shifted and changed. And that's a lot of what I talk about, especially now in the pandemic, is that everyone is having to shift and pivot, as we're saying. So for me, the first pivot was to monetize my content differently, whether that was transforming from a book, which young people weren't interested in. People were buying their content in Nooks and Kindles. So a $25 book was now $7, which there's very little profit margin in that. So everything changed. So it was about changing to a different platform, speaking, which would still bring my message out. And now, instead of being on stages all over the world, we're delivering our content from Zoom or StreamYard or Teams or Connect or whatever these platforms are. So it's a much different place, but we're changing.
So let me ask you, what do you think the biggest factor is in your success?
Oh gosh. Well, I'm not there yet. Believe me, I've still got a long way to go. But you know, I'm a small town guy, and you know, I grind. I just work. You know, I just go, and I think that people often ask you, what is it about the greatest athletes? And I think it's just, you know, there's just no substitute for people. You know, in sports we're called grinders. They just, you know, it's winning ugly. You just do whatever it takes to go. And I think that's been the secret for me, I guess, is just, you know, there's going to be a lot of roadblocks and speed bumps and whatever other cliche you want, but it's just go. You know, even during the pandemic, when a lot of people in the industry went out of business, there's still been a ton of opportunities. So the fees may not always be there, but, you know, I think 2020 is about surviving. 2021, it's going to come back. 2022, you'll be back to where you hope you were. But I think the people that were really willing to adapt and change and just keep grinding during all of this are the ones that are going to be doing well on the back end of all of it.
Yeah, I still think that's one of the biggest compliments I've ever gotten. Somebody called me, it was a boss of mine. He called me a grinder. And that was just, I'll never forget. I'll never forget when he said it. I'll never forget why he said it, because I was coming in early in the morning, making calls, you know, setting up spreadsheets, doing all that stuff. So, you know, that's what it takes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what are some of the obstacles or challenges that you are still working on?
Well, obviously now, you know, just with the pandemic, we're not able to travel as much as we want to do. And that's something I'm really passionate about. And, you know, just booking events. I mean, who knows? Clients now, we don't know if they're going to have a conference. We don't know if they're going to be in business. We don't know if the contact person is going to have a job. There's
Right.
so many variables in our world. We book dates. We're you know, and that's what we do. And now you'd be making phone calls now to book events 6 months out for, you know, May, June, July. And those clients said, well, we didn't have a conference this year, so we just pushed all of our speakers to next year. So call us in 2022, right? So you just don't even know. It really pushed the whole cycle forward. And, you know, there's going to be, you know, I think a lot of companies realized that I think that the platforms like this, the online streaming platforms, they hyper accelerated the learning curve for companies. So whereas a big company before may have had four conferences, four opportunities for guys like Brian and Ross to come in and speak and do what we do to make a living. Now they're saying, you know what, maybe we only do one big conference once a year, and the other three we can do on Zoom, and we can save a lot of money not flying people all over and renting stages and having all the food and hotel expense and liability, and we can just do that once. Well, that makes sense for the company, but it's going to disrupt guys like you and I for what we do. So that's the world, right? It goes back to the horse and buggy whip guys and every, you know, the Blockbuster guys, and everyone has some story of how they were disrupted. So those of us who are willing to change and adapt and say, okay, how are we going to, you know, ride that wave are going to not just survive, but, you know, some of us will do well.
Yeah. Yeah. So in terms of doing well, what's the best advice you've ever gotten?
You know, in the speaking world, I think the best advice I got, I was at a National Speakers Association annual conference. We have an event, as you know, every year called Influence, where we all get together in the summer, and it's a wonderful event. Thousands of professional speakers and people in our industry come together, and speaker bureaus, a lot of the big agencies who book guys like you and I, are there, and oftentimes they want to come see all the best speakers and one-stop shopping. And there was this one particular owner of a speaker bureau, a whale, as we like to call them, a real player in the industry. And I remember she was being hounded. Everybody wanted to go talk to her, and I remember getting up the nerve to go up and, you know, hand her a couple of my books and say, hey, I'm Ross, and I'd love to work with you. And, you know, just nervous, and I went up and, I got her in kind of a moment where I stalked her and she was kind of alone, and I said, hey, and I gave her all my stuff and my card, and she said, Ron, is it? Or Ross? She said, look, there's a lot of speakers here, and, if you want to send me these books, that's fine. I don't have time to carry them around, but I appreciate the gesture, just stab in the heart. And then she said, look, this business is all about word of mouth. So my advice to you would just be really good at what you do, be great on the stage, and word will get out. And when it does, we'll be in touch. Thank you. And it was a very humbling moment. But a couple of years ago, she hired me, and it was a cool moment. She didn't remember who I was, and I didn't bring it up. But that's kind of how our business is. It doesn't matter how many likes or followers or viewers or how much money you have. This business it's transactional based on how good your last gig was, how much you move that audience, how much people are willing to talk about you, refer you, help you. Each gig leads to the next gig. And that's, I speak at a lot of sales conferences, and that's kind of what it is. It's very karma based. So I never forgot that. So, that's just it. You got to give each gig, each presentation, whether it's a group of 12 people in the back of a bowling alley in Paducah, Kentucky, or you're on with 10,000 people at the Ritz-Carlton in Hong Kong, you gotta bring it. And it's that same kind of grind and energy, I think, that's going to be, it's going to bring you success.
That's incredible advice. I appreciate that so much, because there are times where, I've been doing this 4 years. I mean, there are times where, I feel like, when is it going to happen? When is it really going to take off? Like, I really want it to take off. So, I appreciate you saying that. What do you do daily? I mean, there must be something you do daily or at least weekly that really brings you clarity.
Personally, from my own mental health, I'm a runner. In fact, when the pandemic hit and everything, my calendar got wiped clean. I decided to kind of take control of what I could. So I lost about 50 pounds. I ran another marathon.
Wow.
Something I hadn't done in about 10 years. So that was really important to me, just to try and get, as a silver lining, I guess, in the sense that I was off the road. My life, I mean, no one would pity me for my lifestyle, but it's a great lifestyle, but it's a grind when you're going from airplane to hotel to conference room to airplane to hotel. Sometimes you're on a stretch where you might be going, 10 straight days in 10 different cities. And you're not eating right. You're not exercising. There's no consistency, and it's hard. Again, we get paid very well to go talk. So no one's going to pity me for my first world problems, but nevertheless, it does make it harder. So this time has been good for me just to focus on my mental and physical health, which has been really good. So, running, playing hockey, golfing, those are things I really enjoy. I'm passionate about. But, on a day-to-day, just, a lot of, emerging speakers. And I want to say young speakers, because everyone who starts out in this industry, it doesn't matter how old you are. There's people in our group that are, CEOs of billion-dollar companies, but they're but they're newbies as speakers. Mm-hmm. So it's it doesn't matter your chronological age. It's sort of where you are in the world as a speaker, how long you've been doing this as a professional. And it takes a while. So, but there's no substitute for sales. So that's one thing I guess I learned cutting my teeth, growing up in my family's fourth generation chain of family furniture stores, or just me writing books and grinding. I mean, when I wrote books, I only got paid like once a year from a distributor. So I learned I had to go and make calls and get on TV and promote and go do book signings. I would, for Christmas, I was in malls every single day for hours, just sitting in front of bookstores, selling my books. I mean, grabbing women shoppers. Hey, who are you shopping for? I mean, I still have that mentality. And now I pound the phones and I work leads and I try and build relationships. And I try and help people. And in the pandemic, if clients didn't have budgets, I said, no problem. How can I help you? How can I be of service to you? What can I do to help you grow your business or help you build your customer base or help grow your sales? And based on the model of karma, if that worked, then let's do some business next year. And that's really what it's been a lot about, is just being there for people when they need it most, and hoping that you're going to leverage those relationships to keep your calendar full for the next year. So that's just what I'm doing. I'm just grinding.
No, that's great. Tell me, what does the next level of your success look like?
Well, that's the thing in our world. We're measured. We in our world we have a fee. Like, what do you charge? That we have an hourly, fee for what we get for a keynote, and it's a very transparent business. Our fees are posted on websites, so certainly you want to keep raising your fees. And if you get too busy, you raise your fee, and it'll adjust your calendar accordingly, right? If you're doing 100 events at X fee and you want to get off the road, you double your fee, and you should have half if they still like you, or whatever that number might be. So certainly, my model is, it's more of a lifestyle brand. There's a lot of my colleagues who build big businesses. They've got staffs of 5-10 people. They're doing train the trainer. They're doing blogs and vlogs and podcasts, and they've got lists and social media empires. This becomes a Facebook post, becomes a LinkedIn post, becomes an Audible book, becomes an ebook, an online learning, an LMS. So there's this whole model of business. Whereas I don't want a business. I want a practice. And for me, a practice means is that it's a lot less stressful. I don't have any. My model is I'm never going to have any employees. I'm never going to own a building. I love working from home. In this business, it's not what you make, it's what you keep. So I'm much more interested in netting a lot of money versus grossing a lot of money, and leading to a better lifestyle where I can choose the gigs that I want to do. I can travel with my wife, with my kid. I mean, I'm lucky. I'm one of the only speakers in the world that's spoken on all 7 continents. So we love international travel. I love speaking around the world. And when I book an event in New Zealand, that's awesome, because that means we get to travel to other exotic places like Fiji or Bali or other places that we enjoy going. And so
Wow.
For me, it's that lifestyle where I'm able to enjoy it with my wife and with our daughter when she can come. She started college now, but so for me, I'm very purposeful that I don't want to have all that stress and all the anxiety. The downside is that I don't have a regular business. I have a practice. If I get hit by a bus, there's not a sellable business. There's not but I've got a big disability insurance policy, so you save your shekels and you hope you come out okay. But it's a different model, and everyone. That's what I love about our group, Brian, is that everyone has a different model. And as you and I have gotten to know each other and become friends, I'm fascinated by your model and how you've overcome so much adversity to build your business and the success you've had. So I learn a lot from so many different people, and that's just what's so great about connecting and building relationships in this business. We're all weirdos. We go to our conference and it's all a bunch of freaks and outliers that do this for a living, and we love it, and that's what makes us unique.
Yeah, that's very cool. I agree. They're all a bunch of freaks, but the freaks are really what makes us up.
Yeah.
People with uniqueness that it's just having that relationship with those people. It's very cool. So you've got a lot of stuff going on, and obviously your business model is different than my business model. And your business model is different than a lot of people I've heard about in the past. But what do you do to recharge? I know you do bike and you play hockey, you golf. Other than that, what do you do to recharge?
I just keep going. I all those things, and just keep plugging away. Right? It's life. We enter different stages of life, and where I was 20 years ago is very different than where I am now. I'm in my 50s now, so I'm an old guy now. And
hey, wait a minute. I'm 53.
we're old guys, man.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah. So, now it's about that next phase, right? Where it's about, we're in between that, where we're just become empty nesters. And now we're, you're waiting for your kid to someday grow up and get a career, and you start thinking, well, where do you want to be when you have a grandkid? Right. I mean, that's a long way out there in my mind, but that's sort of the next. And where do you want to be with your real estate? And where do you want to be? Where do you want to wind up? So, these are all the big things you start thinking about in life. And then how are you going to get there? So, yeah, it's a combination of just working hard and playing hard and enjoying it and trying to keep your mental and physical health good. It's hard. I mean, you and I both live in cold weather spots, so we're entering the doldrums. I mean, December is great because it's the holidays and Christmas and New Year's, but then, January and February, it's a slog. It's a long, so I try and spend as much time in southern locations as I can, just so we can be in warmer weather during that time. So I extend gigs. I've got some events coming up in Arizona and California and Florida and in Tennessee. So we'll spend a lot more time in one gig. You stay till the next one, right? So you can just extend those trips and be in better areas. And you and I, we can work from anywhere. So that's kind of the unique thing. We can be virtual.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true. So in the corporate world, you typically have people that you're colleagues with, or you have these people that help you to see your blind spots. With you and you don't have a corporate gig, so other than your spouse, can't say your spouse. Other than your spouse, who helps to see your blind spots?
That's a good question. I've got a lot of colleagues that I really lean on in the business. One of the guys who introduced us was Sam Richter. Sam's my best friend. He's an amazing speaker, and we talk every day, and we talk about business and life. And I'm in a couple of mastermind groups. I'm a member of Entrepreneurs Organization, where we have a forum group that we have a goal. People hold you accountable to those goals, and you can talk about things, personal things, business things, how you want to grow your business or change. So you got to surround yourself with the right people in this industry and in any industry really, and have mentors and people that you can lean on. So I think, for a guy like Sam, for me, it's great because we're in the same kind of price point, same sort of fee. We do similar things. We're able to make referrals to each other, help each other, talk to each other, so when you have those blind spots, just have someone with no filter that can say, dude, that really sucks. You need to change that or whatever. So you need people. That's the problem in our world is we get off stage and everyone says, great job.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Was it? I mean, who knows? You'll never know unless you get people that really will tell you, no, actually it sucked. So.
Yeah, that's very true. We get that quite often. So you got to figure out who to listen to, who's telling you some of the hard truth that you need to hear.
Yeah, right.
So tell me about, we got about 2.5 minutes left. So tell me about your morning routine.
I get up and I get up early.
What's early?
I get up, I don't know, 6. I mean, it just depends, I guess, how late I'm up the night before. But I like to watch the news. So I'm a news junkie. I DVR a bunch of news stations. I like to watch it all. I'm on CNN. I'm on Fox News. I want to see all of it. And I'm on newspapers online. And I like to watch the news. It's kind of my ritual. I feel like you and I, as thought leaders, need to be informed and know what's going on around the world. A lot of my clients have challenges, whether it's the price of a barrel of oil or commodity prices, or if Biden's policies on the environment are going to affect their business as opposed to Trump's or whatever. So I need to be informed. So I'll spend several hours a day just watching the news, and that's probably good and bad. But then I like to run. Today it's going to be up to in the 30s in Minnesota. It's a heat wave, so I'll bundle up. I'll put on my ski goggles and I'll go on a 10-miler today. So I'm excited.
Whoa, 10 miles?
Yeah, you got to get outside while you can. Otherwise, it's the treadmill. So, just doing that and spending time with my wife and kid. Today I'm pre-recording a couple events for clients that want pre-records, which is a new term in our world. They want a Zoom, call. They want it pre-recorded in case there's any hiccups technology-wise. So, yeah, every day is a journey, just like you.
Wow. Well, that's awesome. So tell me a little bit about, and this will be our last question, but tell me a little bit about what you're reading right now.
I've got a giant stack of books. One of the new books I'm reading is Z-Economy by our colleague Jason Dorsey. He's a brilliant speaker out of Austin, Texas, and he talks about Gen Zs, which are these are the next group but after millennials. So I've got one myself. My daughter's a Gen Z. So learning their buying habits, how they work, what they do. They're fascinating creatures. So it's a great book. I'm in the middle of that right now.
It's called, what's it called again?
Z-Economy.
Z-Economy.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's Randall. He said he's good. Watch the news and read newspaper. So Randall is right there with you.
Thanks, Randall.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. Oh my gosh, I totally forgot about your website. So I want to make sure that we ran that across the bottom here for a little bit, so we all can see that. So let's see. Here we go. There it is. So that's where we can reach you. Is there another place where we can reach you?
Nah, I'm not here to shill anything. I just I'm honored to be your guest and to hopefully help your listeners to think a little bit differently about an industry they probably have no interest in learning about, but hopefully it'll apply to their world. And no, I'm on LinkedIn. That's really the only social platform that I'm on. I don't do a lot of other stuff. Okay.
Well, I will hit you up on LinkedIn. I haven't already, but
we're linked, official.
Oh, good. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on.
Of course, Brian. Great to be with you. Thank you for having me, and congrats on all of your success. And I'll look forward to seeing you in Las Vegas this summer at our annual conference. It'll be fun.
Awesome. And I'll talk to you back in the green room in a minute.
Sounds good.
Thanks. All right. So, wow, that was awesome. Ross Bernstein, shut up. I love it. He did a great job. And you can see this video. You can listen to the replay. If you're listening to the replay, put a hashtag replay. If you're listening live, put a hashtag live. Tomorrow, we're going to be joined by none other than Dave Caperton. Dave Caperton is the best. He does such a phenomenal job. So join us tomorrow for vision alignment, and we're going to make sure that we continue to work to bring you the best speakers that we possibly can, to be interviewed and to be able to understand you and your vision, and what it is your vision and your core values need to be aligned. And the more they're aligned, the better off you're going to be. So I'm so glad that you're joining us here today, and hopefully you're going to be able to join us tomorrow. And there's just so much goodness going on in the world, and I hope that you are bringing as much goodness as you possibly can along with you. Thank you so much. And as always, keep one eye on the road.